Ni mtoto wa miaka 60 lakini bado anatabaa. Where did you see this? A 60-year-old baby Corey. Ulisikia wapi wewe? But when you look at Kenya, Kenya is 60 since we obtained our independence. Because we obtained our independence in 1963, December. To be precise, 12th of December. So today Kenya is 60 years old. Lakini sasa wewe angalia mtoto wa miaka 60 lakini bado anatabaa. 60 years you are still beggars. 60 years down the line we are still crying. 60 years you are still depending on developed nations. Hata kununua kiberiti chenyewe ambacho uweza ukauda kinatoka China. When you look at Kenya, you see a confused nation. When you look at Kenya, unajiuliza maswali mengi sana. Because I believe majority of people here were not born in 1963. I think when you look at Kenya, about 70% of the population are below 30 years. That is a fact. And people are asking hard questions. Poverty all over. In fact, when you look at Kenya, we still, I don't know whether you know that we are still begging for food. When you look at shelter, the basic needs, you are not meeting them. Food, clothes, and shelter. When you look at the level of development in this country, you ask yourself many questions. So in this video, I want us to look at why this baby of 60 years is still crying. If you're here for the first time, kindly subscribe to Gashi Skyman 2, the tallest man in Black Africa. That is the only Jamhuri Day that I request for you today, our viewers. Also like this video and also comment and let me know what you think about this 60-year-old baby who is crying and shocking everyone. The first reason why the baby is still crying is because immediately after independence, the Homegurds took over. The true freedom fighters did not benefit in any way. Ukweli usemo ni kwamba wale watu ambao walikuwa naongoza vuguvugu la Maumau, wale watu ambao walikuwa msituni, hawakufaidika kwa vyovyote. They are still beggars. In fact, Jomo Kenyatta is one person who did not play as much role as somebody like Ogiga Odinga. Jomo Kenyatta, yes, the only advantage he had is that he was educated. And I've also opined in this channel that Jomo Kenyatta took most of his time in Britain acting movies. In fact, he was acting movie. He was a movie actor you've never known. And I can send that video here if you want. And or maybe you can come to WhatsApp. I can show you. Because I'll put my number here today for those guys who are requesting about my number. I'll put it there. So the Homegurds are the people who have been leading this country. For example, if you're asked, what role did Moi play in the struggle for independence? What role did William Samoei Ruto play when it comes to second liberation? So these are what we are calling the Homegurds. Again, even Kibaki was good, but when you look at it clearly, you realize that he was a very good technocrat. He was there, yes, and he did all he could. But you realize that the people who were in the forest did not benefit in any way, and they did not carry the dreams of this country. That is why the baby is still crying. The other reason, in my view, is because of tribalism and ethnicity and its ugly face. Immediately after independence, this country was divided into tribal cocoons. Mtu wetu, lugha yetu, kwetu. Instead of building a nation, we are a hopelessly divided country. We don't have a nation. Because a nation is where we have a group of people from different parts of the country speaking in one language, speaking in unison, and with a common vision. When you look at tribalism, you realize that it has eaten into this country. It has completely destroyed this country. Whereas we know in this country, there are only two tribes, the rich and the poor. Wengine Maskini wote wanaongea lugha moja, matajiri wote wanaongea lugha moja, but people tend to think that kuna watu wa makabila tofauti. Economically, we have just two tribes, the rich and the poor. And the language of the rich is money. The language of the poor is begging, begging, and begging, living from hands to mouth. That is what we have in this country. The other reason why the baby is crying at this time is because of rigging of elections. And you remember very well, if you look at the history of this country, for sure we have not had proper elections. The only election I would say was good, was fair, was 2002. But since independence, who, for example, if you asked, who elected Jomo Kenyatta as the president of this country? Who was electing Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi? The only time we had multipartyism is 1992. Yeah. And in 1992, Matiba was rigged out. In 1997, Kibaki was rigged out. In 2007, Raila Amolo Odinga was rigged out. And even in the subsequent elections, Raila Amolo Odinga has always been rigged out. So what we have is that leaders who are not elected by the people, who are elected by the system, are the one who have been leading this country. Na hii ndio sababu tukawa bado twatabaa kama vitoto vichekechea. Again, when you look at this country, corruption has been a very serious problem in this country. Corruption in hospitals, corruption even in public toilets, corruption on the road. If you travel along the roads in Kenya, you will see traffic policemen with the registers, marking the vehicles that are on the road, those that are paid. So it is on the order of the day. Nothing can move on. And it is a fact that this country is losing more than 2 billion in corruptions. Now this money is heading in people's pockets. Those who are in leadership are corrupt to the core. Chochote abacho. In fact, most of the leaders in this country have gained their position through corruption. It is not by meritocracy. Ni wizi. Na ufisadi wa hali ya juu sana, na ni jambo ambalo limechagia pakubwa sana. Another problem why the child is crying, kwa nini mtoto anatabaa at 60 years, is because of Kikuyunization and what I call Karijanization of this nation. When you look at this country, let me ask you, why do you think polisi wanaongea kama wakalijini wote? Iko taka nene hapa? Kama iko taka toka pa kinyagarika wewe? Iko lete yogoti, visa lete yogoti, kama utaki yogoti, that's the way they talk for sure. And again, when you look at the Wasapere, the Kikuyus, every institution is also Kikuyunized. Even when you look at the government, the current government is just an arithmetic of 2 tribes. The Kikuyus and the Kalenjins. Those are the people who are leading this country. Look at the Minister of Finance. And when you look at the minister, for example, the CS for any ministry, he is being given PS Mukalijin. This is what is happening. From the head to the toe, when you look at the president, Kalijin, deputy, and so on, and everything. This is not good for this country, because this is a country of 45 tribes. So some tribes feel eliminated. They're not eliminated, alienated for sure. They feel that they're not part of this. They feel that they're not considered. So if you ask me, Kalenjinization and Kikuyunization of this nation is a bad thing for this country. Again, this country assassinated its best. Remember people like Tom Mboya, a brilliant mind that was assassinated. Pio Gama Pinto, a brilliant mind that was assassinated. Tom Mboya was among the best leaders that this country could have had. Remember people like J.M. Kariuki, the MP for Nyandarua North, was assassinated and his body was found in Ngong Forest. People like Oko could have made very good presidents and they were gone. So many people lost their lives. People like Kipsada Arap Muge, wengi walipoteza maisha yao, na ni watu ambao wangefanya kazi nzuri sana, wangefanyia kazi hii nzuri. But when a country, because what we have now, even when this government took over, The first thing that it did was to fight the DCI. Those guys were doing a good job. But when you start allowing them in court, when you start attacking, we are spending so much time doing things that are not necessary because some of our leaders feel very insecure and they end up eliminating other people, which is not good in my view. Something else that has been ailing this country ni siasa baya. As Moi would put it, siasa baya maisha mabaya. Ukiangalia siasa za nchi hii, we start campaigning immediately the president is declared. Once the president is declared, the campaign are on top gear. We have been campaigning in now. Even the president himself, even Raila Amolo Odinga, they are campaigning. In fact, one would mistake a foreigner coming to this country, or a visitor coming to visit in Kenya, would mistake the country like we are having elections next month. This is our country. Instead of people working for the electorate, they are campaigning day in, day out. Now, this is something that does not work well for this country. So we spend a lot of time planning for each other and putting traps and competing instead of working. 5 years down the line, and we are campaigning. So these people, for them to campaign, they need to steal a lot of money from the public. They need to do a lot. And this is one thing that is hampering development in this country. There's a lot of theft and plundering of public resources. Ule wizi huko katika nchi hii is on another level. Na watu hawajali wizi wa pesa, wizi wa mali ya umma, unyakuzi wa mashamba ya umma, unyakuzi wa misitu, wengine kujenga kando ya barabara. They don't care. To them it is nothing. In fact, I think a third of the budget is stolen in Kenya. It is stolen. It is not implemented. You only need to read the auditor's report. And you see, almost every ministry cannot account for all the money, including the office of the president to the deputy president. All the way, they cannot be able to account for the money. Even the Minister of Education cannot account for all the money that is given to the ministry. What we have is plundering of our resources. Remember, even taxation is also a problem in this country because people are heavily taxed. When you tax people, you tax everything, then the country cannot move forward because you can only tax people and implement the money and use the money in the right way. But when you tax them and then misappropriate the money, you embezzle the funds, why tax them in the first place? So, mine is to issue a happy Jamhuri. Mine is to wish you to study the Kenya all the time, even when you be betrayed, even when everybody leaves. Never leave this beautiful baby, the beautiful Kenya. Let us make this baby stand. Let us make this baby run. Let us make this baby handsome for everybody to enjoy. That is my take. Rashis Kaiman, the tallest man in Black Africa. Happy Jamhuri Day.